I'm Scott, and I'm an American in Bangkok. I'm back in Bangkok. Been in Songkhlaburi, Cambodia, all over Cambodia. Then I've been all over Thailand with my family. My mother, my sister, my nephew, my niece, they all came in. My wife took time off from work, so my kids, our kids, we all traveled together with my mother and my sister and my niece and nephew. And we've been traveling around Thailand and going and seeing the sights. So that's why there haven't been many videos up. But I got a letter, and it's pretty good, pretty good one. Decent question, but of course it's geared towards women when I don't really think that in this case the question needs to be geared towards, it's not a women-only question. And let me read it, and then maybe you'll get an idea what I'm talking about. Okay, I got a letter. Love that line. Anywhere, anyhow. Bear with me here. A little new and didn't really know how to send you a letter, so I'll try emailing you directly. By the way, I spent some time in Palm Desert about the time you lived there. Who knows, since we're about the same age, I bet we probably know some of the same crowd that cruised 111 through Palm Springs. Anyhow, I'm newly retired, lost my wife 6 years ago to cancer. I'm sorry to hear that. And planning a trip to Pattaya in the near future. I've got the bug to see what all the excitement is about. Uh-oh. Be careful. Still young enough to like the ladies, while at the same time old enough to say the hell with it. I'm going where it looks exciting. I think everybody should go to Pattaya once. If you're a man, and you just want strictly no ties, no frills, that's the place you can go, and you can get that as long as you got the cash. I've read all the advice, and frankly, I've gotten stung a few times here in the States since my wife's passing, so I don't think I'll reach chowderhead status in my behavior anytime soon. At least, I hope not. Well, if you're getting stung in the States, that's not a good sign. But here's the thing, in the area of focus I think myself and the others could benefit from by hearing your viewpoint, insight, and comments about. In a nutshell, how does the easy, relative, inexpensive sexual access to gorgeous ladies affect one's psyche? Sounds almost silly to ask. But seriously, even though everyone is different to a certain extent, are there any common adjustment problems experienced by men who return to the more structured and rigid lifestyles, especially in the area of sex? I know some would laugh at this question, but if you think about it, I imagine what? I imagine the possibility of having a considerable personality change exist. One minute you can bar find the most attractive women on the planet, and back in the States you are spending 10 times as much competing for the average hen. I would think there's a hell of a lot of frustration there. I think it depends on your approach. And your approach is one of which you're thinking that all the women here are available, or that all the ones in Pattaya are available, which a large percentage of them are, if you pay a buck. But is that the kind of woman you want? Do you only want sex? Do you want a relationship? Do you want friends with benefits? What do you want? I should point out, I get my share in the States, but it's almost never worth the effort, and it seems way too involved for what it is. I've always thought, let's get the sexual tension resolved first, and then build on the relaxed personalities after that. Naturally, my approach goes against the American and many other developed countries' standards. I don't know. I think you make a lot of assumptions, to be honest, not being a smart ass, but I think you make a lot of assumptions. There are a lot of women who are open sexually. There are a lot of men who are more than willing to just as there are a lot of men who are perfectly willing to get involved in a relationship with women. A serious relationship, not relationship, committed relationship. So I don't know. I think you might be veering off a little. There you have it. I got a letter, and this guy wants to know, how can visiting Thailand change your psyche in terms of having easy access to Thai women versus at home where women aren't so open? Do many women, boy, I am off today. Do many men react like it's a hit of crack and they can never give it up? He pointed out he doesn't use, what is this? He pointed out he doesn't use drugs and choose the, this makes no sense. He pointed out he doesn't use drugs and choose the crack thing as a descriptive metaphor. I don't know if you're what you're doing here. Oh, okay. You're saying it from the guy who is saying, and this I'm saying I got a letter, and this guy wants to know he doesn't use drugs, and he chose the crack thing as a descriptive metaphor. Thanks in advance for your comments. If you get the chance, hope you find my question interesting. Yeah, I mean it's interesting, but I would say, as I said in the beginning, it's not only about the women. I have buddies that have gone back to the U.S. now or elsewhere to Europe to the UK, and most of them they're not they were never really struggling for women where they're like, oh my God, if I leave Thailand, I'm not going to have any women. I'm not going to be able to have any sex. I don't know. Okay, it just hasn't happened like that. For the most part, most of the guys they go back with their woman. But if they do go back, a lot of them go back when they do go back alone. It's not so much the women. I mean, that's part of it, but it's also the whole lifestyle, the mentality, the ease of getting around, the ease of grabbing food off the street somewhere or at a little shop house or something. Uh, the relaxed atmosphere and mentality. It's just a different vibe in Thailand versus, say, in the United States. Uh, Although I would say that now, because I've lived here a long time, and Bangkok is it's not really exotic at all for me anymore. Rarely is it exotic. I mean, my family went to a couple of places, and I found myself saying, "Wow, I don't know why I didn't come to this place before. What an awesome place!" One place was the Erewhon Museum. I was like, "Holy moly, man! This place is awesome. It's incredible. It's a great place to go." Um, but I think when it comes to the women, it's about, ooh, I think it's about putting it all into perspective. I hate to say that because perspectives are always different. They change, and but if you go back to the States, I got the one guy I wrote about and I did a video about a long time ago that pissed away $90,000 as soon as he went back. I mean, like within a couple of weeks, he had himself a new girl. He had this Vietnamese girl, and he wasn't the most handsome guy. He wasn't an ugly guy by any means, but he wasn't, he wasn't Don Johnson, Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, George Clooney type handsome. So, I mean, he managed to do it, and I think it depends on the situation. It can be addictive, which is why so many guys tend to come back. I mean, they come back because they know. And I got to say, I do know a few guys who, what they do is they come once or twice a year. They go back home. They basically just put their nose to the grindstone. They work their tail off. And then they come back and they stay for 3 weeks or a month or 2 weeks, whatever they can. They have a great time. They got a couple of girls. They pay them. They have their fun. They go back home, and that's all they do. And maybe if they're lucky, they got some girl down at the corner pub or some girl that they're friends with that they know that's maybe, a friend with benefits or something, just to keep them, keep the pipes cleaned. But other than that, I mean, the thing here is that money is the great equalizer. Uh, if you're hard up and you're like, man, I can't get laid to save my life, you go into some bar, you go into some go-go, you go into a soapy, a massage parlor, whatever. men's club, and that you get it right there. I mean, you just pay a little money and that's it. So there's always going to be that, as long as it's available here, and it's, even though it's technically illegal, as long as it's occurring and it's possible, I would say that this kind of thing's going to go on. And well, when you ask about, do men react like it's a hit of crack? Well, look at all the people that have written me, all the screw ups. I mean, that should answer your question right there. And you're coming over here, you've already had some foul ups in the United States. I'm telling you, you better be careful when you come here. I have guys have sent me messages in the last year or two who have said, I've been there a couple of times. I thought I knew the whole business. I knew everything and how it works. I knew how things go down. And this girl, she suckered me in. She seemed like a wonderful girl. She's so sweet. At the end of the day, she wanted the money. And, so it's not to say that all girls that are working in bars are only out for your money. They don't care about you. They're just vicious, conniving little twats. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is their job is to earn money. That's why they're there. If you said to them, we're not paying you, or you're only going to make a tenth of what you used to make, or you had to pay 50% of your salary, these girls would not be there. They would leave. At least most of them. Most of them are not making enough to take that big of a hit. So the money is obviously very important, but there's always sexual frustration. I don't know why I'm talking about all this, but of course there are men who are sexually frustrated, and there are Thai men who are sexually frustrated, and some of them, if they have the means financially, they go to a soapy, they go to the corner brothel or whatever in their village. So I would say keep these things in mind, and remember that it's not only the women. There are guys, like if I was to go back home, there would definitely be an adjustment period. It would be tough for me because I'd have to kind of relearn things. But one of my best buddies had to go back a couple of years ago, and he went back to Seattle for, I think it was about a year and a half or two before he was able to come back. And he didn't particularly like it, but he said, you know what? After a little while, you get used to it, and you just get back in the groove, and that's how it goes. And I think the same thing goes if you're talking about women, or you're talking about a job, or women that they have a strong pull for, they are a strong draw for men, which is why many men come to Thailand. Of course, it's not the only reason. We all know it's the temples and the beaches that make the majority of people want to come here. But there are ample women, and the thing that this guy, that I'm talking to in particular, should remember is that I don't know how long you're staying here, but don't get sucked into a relationship with a bar girl, especially if this is your first try, or your first time in Pattaya. You don't speak the language. You don't really know much about the culture. I would say don't do it. That's the smart move. The smart move is to have your fun and get on down the road. Don't get involved. Don't get involved with a regular girl. You don't speak the language. You don't know the culture. You haven't been here for very long. If you're only here for, say, a month, that's not really long enough to say, okay, let me get into a relationship. It happens. The relationships work sometimes. But I'm saying, in most cases, if I were you, I'd be extremely cautious about getting involved with anybody if you're only here for a couple of weeks, and especially girls who are prostitutes. So, that's all I got. Now, hey, let's see. I got T-shirts. I'm getting a couple new ones. They're gonna be going up very soon. Go to anamericaninthailand.com. That's where you can find them. Of course, they call me farang.com. That's where my book is. And my new book, Ask Me Anything, which has to do with all these kind of letters. That book is done. I'm just waiting still for the formatting to be completed, and then it will go up on Amazon. It shouldn't be all that much longer. It's been a long time, and I'm stretched thin, to put it mildly. Let's see, what else? That's all I got. So, until next time, I'm Scott. I'm an American in Bangkok. Choke the left jerk.